Hi, my name is Carolina Mariposa. Thanks so much for clicking on this video. I am a trained medical intuitive who also has a background in psychology, including early childhood mental health and a variety of holistic healing practices. And I founded Butterfly Grove to support highly sensitive children, teens, and families in becoming more grounded, joyful, and creative. So this week's video picks up where last week's left off. If you saw last week's, you know that it was about getting a good night's sleep. And a few people had some questions about the part of the video where I mentioned exercise. So I thought it would be helpful to put out some things to consider when you're a highly sensitive child, teen, or parent before you exercise to make sure that you're getting the best experience for your health and your well-being. So I like to think about exercise first in terms of which type of exercise is going to benefit you. And a lot of people, when they think or hear the word exercise, a lot of highly sensitive people don't like it. They don't want to think about exercise, and they associate it with this idea that we have to push ourselves. No pain, no gain is a phrase that comes up a lot. We have to feel bad, we have to sweat, we have to really suffer in order to exercise our bodies. So I want to first clarify that I am not necessarily referring to that kind of exercise. I do know a number of people, highly sensitive and not highly sensitive, who benefit from hard exercise and working up a sweat and really working their muscles hard. And if you're one of those people, that is great, that you know that about yourself and that you enjoy that. But what I find is more common with highly sensitive people is that we tend to have an experience of our bodies as somewhat fragile or weak because we're often experiencing pain as a symptom of the overload that we experience every day, from sensory overload, emotional overload. So the idea of getting up and exercising can feel even more overwhelming. What I like to encourage people to look at are exercises that are restorative in nature or gentle to moderate exercise. There's so many possibilities out there, and I'll link to a few that I really enjoy below. Yoga and Qigong are specifically focused in certain types of yoga, and Qigong are focused on that relaxation response and helping your body feel restored and renewed versus working it out and sort of depleting yourself. One of my personal favorites is a site called yochi.com, which combines yoga and Qigong. The teacher's name is Marissa, and I'm actually a subscriber on her channel. I don't have any promotional deal with her, but I just will put her link below because I find her hugely helpful, and I find that doing those workouts in the morning, anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, depending on how much time I have, is really a gentle way to start the day feeling regulated and strong and centered in my body. A lot of yoga and Qigong also focuses on breathing exercises, which are really relaxing. So I encourage you to broaden your idea of exercise and think about it more as a tool to move your body and relax and restore your body, in addition to any harder exercise you might do to strengthen your body or build your cardiac capacity or train for an event. That can be really helpful. Just to mention a couple other sites that I really benefit from, I'll link to them below. There's a practice called Essential Somatics, and if you are somebody who has experienced trauma and kind of holds that in your body, she has a great video that I'll link to below around the body's core trauma responses and how we hold our body in a traumatic posture after experiencing a trauma of any kind. And she does various very gentle exercises to loosen up the body and shift that holding that we might do around a trauma that the way we're carrying ourselves. One other practice I find really helpful is Whole Body Revolution YouTube channel. Again, still no promotional deals, but these are the ones that help me. Suki Baxter has made many videos that aren't necessarily exercises, but are things you can do, such as certain ways to hold your head and your neck, or even she does one on ear massage that's really helpful. Just in resetting the nervous system, recalibrating the nervous system, and soothing the body. And that can soothe emotional tension and physical tension and just make you feel a lot better in your body. So that's really my first tip, is consider what is the state of your body, what do you generally benefit from the most in terms of the intensity level, and what type of exercise will be best for you on any given day. It might change. Some days you may really want a restorative practice. Some days you might want a harder practice. I also encourage you, as you're thinking about that and maybe trying to figure out that piece around what type of exercise is helpful, is that you try a variety of things and then notice which ones work best over time. And this is especially important for highly sensitive people who tend to deny what's really going on in their body. I know many of us are conditioned to sort of toughen up and keep going at all costs, and kids can feel this, parents can feel this when you're highly sensitive, and you sort of turn off your awareness of your body. So sometimes if you try something new, it's good to try it and give it a couple of days to see if it really impacts you positively or negatively. I know for me, it usually takes 2 to 3 days sometimes to really feel the full effects of a new workout that I've done. And it's important to give your body time to give you that information, especially if it's not accustomed to you listening to it. So the other thing I like to think about is the circumstances of the exercise. And this is really important for highly sensitive kids especially. I tend to talk to my clients about the 3 C's when we're thinking about the circumstances. So the first C is crowds. Is the exercise you're choosing to do going to involve crowds? Is it a crowded gym? Is it a team where there's other people on the team? Are there going to be people watching your events? Are you going to just be in a PE class with a lot of people and be worried about them watching you? I know for me, I can't do a yoga class out in the world. I have to do them in my home with nobody watching because I get too concerned about all of the other energy going on in the class. So if you're a highly sensitive kid who has that experience where it's really hard for you to pay attention to your own body when you're around a crowd of people, the exercise really isn't going to benefit you because you won't be paying attention to yourself while you're doing it, and you could injure yourself or push it too far. So that's one circumstance to consider. Another one is if you're going to do a sport or an activity that has a coach. And coaches can make or break any child's athletic experience, but especially a highly sensitive child's athletic experience. If you're brave enough to do a team sport, or even if you're working one-on-one with a coach, if the coach has any little bit of energy that is aggressive or intrusive, a lot of coaches will do that to try to motivate kids. They'll yell, they'll cheer. Some of it can maybe be helpful, but oftentimes it's so distracting for a highly sensitive kid. And if it's a really intrusive, really aggressive coach, it can just overwhelm a sensitive youth and they can't focus on whatever they're supposed to be doing. Or if they do make an effort and really focus on what they're supposed to be doing, again, they might injure themselves or, do some damage on an emotional level because they're not really paying attention to whether what they're doing is safe for their body and whether they feel good doing it. The other piece that I want to mention is competition. That's the third C in the circumstances to consider. So many highly sensitive kids, if they get any flavor, any little tinge of competition in any situation, it's going to be really challenging. In exercise and sports, it's often built in. And so I know a large number of highly sensitive kids who were amazing athletes who never got public recognition for that because they weren't doing a sports team or they weren't able to perform in events. They were able to do the sport or the activity and feel good about themselves and feel strong and get physical and emotional benefit from it, but they didn't win any medals or prizes. And sometimes that was hard for their families to reconcile. And it was hard for some of their peers to understand who might know, say that their friend is really good at swimming. Maybe they had a play date and they swam together and they know their friend is a really strong swimmer, but that friend is only going to do laps when there's no one else around or when there's very few people in the pool and is not going to compete at all because it's just too stressful. So if these considerations, both around the type and the circumstances of exercise, seem a little much for some people, I know I've heard some feedback from some parents and even some young people who say to me things like, well, I'm just going to be a wimp if I do what you're saying, or I'm just going to, be ridiculed or made fun of because I'm not stepping up or I'm taking care of my sensitivity. I know that that's real, that bullying is real, and that society does see highly sensitive kids as sort of less than sometimes than the ideals that our society puts out there of strength and prowess and achievement. But I encourage any highly sensitive kid or parent watching this to really embrace your highly sensitive body and identity, because in the long run, you will feel better, you'll feel stronger, you'll feel healthier because you're actually listening to your body and you're giving it the type of exercise it needs rather than pushing it and eventually ending up hurting yourself or suffering from worry or anxiety or depression because you're in a situation that's overwhelming for you. So I hope those are helpful tips. I encourage you to, again, get outside if you can. When you're exercising, I know in my family, one of our favorite things to do is just go out for a hike for an hour or even a half hour. It's a nice sort of unstructured way to enjoy nature and get exercise. It can be a vigorous hike, it can be a mellow hike, or if you have a place outside, like if you can swim in natural water, like a lake or at the beach, it's so rejuvenating for your body, your sensitive body, to get that earth energy while you're moving and while you're exercising and enjoying the movement. So I hope those are helpful tips. If you want to check out any of the practices I've talked about, again, look in the links below. And also a link to my website is below if you're interested in possibly working with me as a coach. I do offer services globally. I work on Zoom and on the phone as well as in person. So I encourage you to book a discovery call if you think it might be helpful. Thanks so much for tuning in and have a great day.